Welcome back to North Country Off Grid. I'm Chad.
I'm Shelby. Hi, guys.
All right, guys, so welcome back. Thank you for subscribing. If you're new, please hit that subscribe button. That really helps us out. If you guys like our videos, hit the little thumbs up. Let us know what you think. And also, if you have any questions, put it in the comments. We like that. We like answering questions.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're doing today. So, actually, a week ago today was our episode of Tiny House Big Living, where you guys were able to see our tiny house come together on the DIY network. So that was really fun to see that all happen, but we got a lot of questions. So we decided that we would do a little question and answer of what you guys saw on Tiny House Big Living.
What'd you think of the episode? What'd you think of your episode of you?
I think it's crazy to see 2 months of us just working our butts off to get this tiny house built, just thrown into 21 minutes. It's really crazy to just see it all done so quickly.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing that it didn't really, that didn't come across was how many hours we'd worked. Like how much we had worked. For 2 months straight, Shelby and I worked 7 days a week, really. And we'd work sun up to sundown. Being off grid, it was the only light we had. So we were at the mercy of Mother Nature. So...
You know, which in the summer's a lot of hours.
Yeah, which was sun up to sundown, and then afterwards, a lot of times is when we would run for supplies once the sun went down. So we would head into town, get supplies that we needed for the next project or the coming days or whatever, and then get back, go to bed, wake up at 5:30 and do it again.
Seriously, it was a lot of work, but it was really rewarding and it was a lot of fun. I think the biggest thing about the Tiny House Big Living episode was that we had said things over and over again, and Tiny House Big Living wants it to make it seem like you are going to live in a tiny house forever, and there's nothing else you're ever going to do with your life. And I think that for us, that's why we didn't fit into the box of Tiny House Big Living, because deciding to build a tiny house was a very temporary thing, and it was something that would get us through the winter, and truthfully, we'll probably be in it for a year or so, maybe 2, just because it's done, it's built, and everything that we're doing, we're paying cash for. So, unless our land were to sell tomorrow, that would kind of look what the plan is like. And we had said this, and they just didn't put that in there. So I think...
Well, they had a lot of the... They asked us a lot of the questions that I think runs through everybody's mind. It's like, you're living tiny, what are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with that? You know, so they were asking us this as we were building it, you know, in the interviews or whatever else. But they would ask us and we would explain it. And then it was just too much. There's just too much stuff to cram into 20-some minutes of videos.
Which I totally understand. They were here for 9 days. They had a lot of footage. And so you have to figure out what you can pick and choose to put the episode together for a 21-minute story. So I totally understand why they didn't get all of that in there, but I understand also why people watching that 21 minutes would have the questions that they've had. So that's kind of why we're answering.
What I was saying is it's funny because their questions that they asked us and we addressed are just the same questions that continue to come up with other people because everyone wants to know all of these same things. So it's funny. It didn't really get addressed on the show, so we're going to address them now.
Yeah, rather than sitting there answering everybody's questions over and over again, because they're all pretty much the same, we were like, we'll just do a question and answer.
A lot of reoccurring questions.
So thank you guys for asking. Thank you guys for watching. We love all the feedback that you guys gave us. It has melted our hearts, and it's been great. So thank you, thank you. So let's get to it. What is our number one question?
Well, our first question is going to be, where do you guys put all your clothes?
So with living in a tiny house, I knew that this was going to be a thing with 3 children. So for right now, we really are utilizing our travel trailer to hold all of our out-of-season clothes. So we only have in here what we need. Right now we've got like winter coats, winter pants, socks, gloves, all of those winter stuff, which we're getting to the point where I get to box all that stuff up and get it out of here, which is exciting because that stuff is all bulky and takes up a bunch of room. So really having an organization schedule basically is kind of what that comes down to for us right now. As far as storage inside the place, we have
we have bins, storage bins, that everyone's got their own little storage bin for all of their clothes. We obviously don't have closets worth of clothing for everybody. So it's all very minimal. It's very organized. But one of the things that we decided to do is to get in here and create needs. And as we created needs, then we would build solutions to it. Mm-hmm. So instead of saying like, oh, we're just going to build a big old storage thing here and then put stuff in it, we're figuring out, well, we really could use this over here and then I'll build it. So that was always part of the plan.
Yeah.
And then and you're going to see a reoccurring thing with most of these questions. But the biggest thing was getting the production of the show done, which means like the meat and potatoes of the build all got taken care of first. And now we're doing the little side dishes, everything else. Horrible analogy. But if you get my point, it's, now we're going to build, coat hangers. Now we're going to build a little closet insert, maybe some drawers under the bunk beds.
Yeah.
Organizational stuff that didn't need to be part of the build. Obviously, we couldn't skip the roof and build coat hangers. So you're going to see that theme kind of throughout these questions because it was a big part of what we did because our build was being filmed. So
it was, and we had a tight time frame because the winter was coming and we didn't quite meet it, but the show really needed us to stick to that. So we kind of had to Hollywood, if you will, certain things in our tiny house. So the fun thing about that is that we'll also do another video where we show you what we did Hollywood, and then we will we'll take you along with fixing those things and doing them properly. So we still have lots of work to do, and honestly, I think that we take it as a pioneer mentality because we've come here and you have to really figure out the basics that you need right away and get those done. And then the rest can kind of just slowly fall into place. So we have lots more building. Another thing that I'm doing with our clothes is that we're going to be building a laundry house on our property. And in there we'll have fully set up washer and dryer, but that will also be where I will have my storage containers for all of the out of season clothes and things like that. So we have lots more projects to do.
Which is another reason why we did not try and stick a washer and dryer machine inside
the tiny
house. With 5 people. I hate calling it a tiny house. It's always been a bunkhouse to me while I was building it, or I always refer to it as the cabin.
Yeah, but they were like, no, you gotta say tiny.
They kept correcting my speech. Like, don't tell me what to say, man.
So that leads us into the next question. Why did you not put a toilet or a bathroom in the tiny house? So
one of the biggest issues with trying to figure out some sort of extra little closed off space with a toilet system and or toilet shower, whatever, is its square footage that you're just ticking off of what you have. You only have so many square feet to work with. So if you're building extra walls and cutting out more space, your floor plans have to really completely change. Mm-hmm. So the most efficient thing for us was to build basically a big living room and then a bunk room. And those bunk beds have, they're dictated by the size of the people sleeping them, in the mattress standard sizes. So that's what I built them off of, was the mattress sizes, singles and then a queen.
Yeah. So
that dictated the space that was in there. So there was no room, for one, to build it. For two, we never intended to build it. I'll let Shelby go off on it. But essentially, we don't want to go to the bathroom inside the tiny house.
We don't.
Cabin.
The thing is that this tiny house, it works for us because we do have the 20 acres. This is not something that we ever intended on picking up and moving and traveling with. This is movable, but it's on our 20 acres and it's there to stay. So we don't have to shove all of the purposes into this little place because, for one, it's not our end-all be-all. It was just to get us through winter and keep us warm.
Which I think is a lot of the design that people try to do. They try to figure out how they can completely exist inside a tiny house, which is sort of silly because you're sort of minimalizing everything, but then you're packing everything into it.
Which is how it has to work for them, because they'll either be traveling with it or they will be on like a small acre that maybe people can see. And we have a lot of privacy where we are. So walking to the outhouse isn't a big deal. Walking to a shower house isn't a big deal.
After 4 years of being off grid, it's just commonplace. Everyone's used to doing it. It's not a miserable task for anybody. We
Honestly,
literally have to just walk outside some more.
For me, a miserable task would be somebody going to the bathroom in here and having to smell it afterwards. That would be a miserable task for me. So I love that they walk out to do their business, and then I also don't have to deal with it in a composting way or anything like that. So for us and our family, this is what works best for us for our temporary pioneer journey that we're on.
That would be
not that pioneering is temporary, but living in the
pioneering is very long term.
It is for us, but living in the tiny and having to walk out to the outhouse and all of those things are temporary.
I'll always have the outhouse.
Right.
I enjoy the outhouse.
But one day we're going to have a
experience
rancher
in the
that will have a
outhouse.
septic system and all of those things. So eventually we'll be set up differently. We will be.
I mean, it makes more sense the more square footage you have to be able to get away from people to do your business. I think it would be very awkward to expect people to come and visit and then make them go like into your little closet in a bucket in something so small. It's just too intimate to do something like that. We would have nobody visit ever. Nobody'd come over.
No,
I wouldn't come over.
And for me, after living in the last house that we had built from the ground up, it wasn't finished. And so for me, all I wanted was a small space that was going to be beautiful, that was going to be homey, that would be our comfort place to come to at the end of a long day of working hard on our homestead. So I didn't want to shove every single little corner with a purpose and clutter, and I wanted it to just more be open and kind of like a model home, if you will, where it just feels comfortable rather than, oh, this corner over here, we've got like 5 purposes for it. So, again, that was kind of why we went with how we went with.
It's kind of tricky. It's tricky living in a tiny house. It's tricky living in a small space, and the people that set out to do it. I think a lot of people are very different from our situation. There's not a ton of people who take their entire family. From what I've seen, there's a lot of like couples or single people.
To be honest, we haven't watched very much of it.
We didn't even know what the show was. We'd never seen it before until we were already in contract to do something with them, which was funny. But I think for a lot of people, it is practical and it kind of works. Trying to stuff a family into something this small for a long-term solution, I'm not in favor of it.
No,
we don't plan on doing it.
But it's great because it's a dual purpose. So when we're done with being in a tiny house and we get to move into our rancher, like this is a great place for our friends and family to come stay, and then maybe even potentially one day Airbnb it out. So we're super happy with the end product of it. We love it. We think that with having the 20 acres and being able to utilize
Why is
the
it called
property,
an Airbnb?
Is
it air like AIR air?
I think so. I have no idea. I didn't invent it.
I was just asking. I didn't know. It's
I
just
have
kind
no
of
idea
It's
either.
kind of an odd name. Like, what's the air part?
It is. But anyways, I think that just having a space that is really comfortable and cozy was our main thing, especially with being able to utilize the 20 acres for other purposes.
If you know why it's called an Airbnb, let us know in the comments.
Oh my gosh,
I want to know what it is.
He can't even think about anything else. He's stuck on that.
What's the air part?
So we'll go on to the next question is, why no sink? So again, this is one of those Hollywood things that we had to do. And in the episode when I say have a classy outhouse, like I'm just making fun of myself. I've got an outhouse. Like I'm just going to poke fun at that.
But it is a classy outhouse.
It is, but like I don't think it's the classiest.
I think it is.
There might be prettier ones out there. Like I'm just
if you
being
have a better,
funny.
classier outhouse, or you have a very stylish outhouse, send it to us. Let us know. We'd love to see it. Absolutely. You guys can go onto our farm page on Facebook and send it to us there.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. That's who I am. When I make anything, I want to make it just pretty. And that's just part of my personality. So back to why no sink. I have this cute little decor thing that says everything but the kitchen sink. And again, I just make fun of myself when it's funny. So
I think originally we planned on putting in a kitchen sink.
Oh, and we're gonna have a kitchen sink.
Right, but originally it was in the plans and we talked about it. We were going to originally do a live edge kitchen countertop.
Yeah.
And that was just one of the things, cabinets are kind of one of the last things to go in. So it was coming down to the wire when all the stuff was finishing up.
For our time frame.
Instead of doing, the live edge, which would have taken longer, it was just a bigger project to really do that woodworking. I threw together a different style wood countertop and we put it in. And instead of going through all the motion of, routering out a sink and putting in the sink because it wasn't plumbed ready yet. So we were just like, let's just skip it and then go on to something else. So there's a lot of stuff that gets Hollywooded, as we put it, to get the production of this show done.
It does, but at the same time, when Chad and I are doing projects together, he's got it in his head what he's going to do, and I trust him because whatever he has come out with is amazing, but I struggle to have that visual of what he's got going on. So I don't see it until he's doing it. So we decided that we couldn't do the live edge and we just rolled with it. But then I got my live edge shelves and I absolutely love those. So, and that was also the same thing with how we had the open area for going back into the bunk room. Like that was a last minute decision too, where we were like, hey, that's dual purpose. It works well and it looks pretty. So that's kind of how we roll. We might have a plan, but we'll probably switch it up like 15 times before it's all said and done.
Exactly how we roll. There are many things that pretty much everything we start doing will change in the middle of it because you kind of think like, oh, we want to do this, and then when this is the end result, but then as you're in there, you improve.
Yeah.
You improve the design of it, which is great. There's no reason to be like, well, I already thought of it and wrote it down, so I have to do it now. And we constantly switch stuff up all the time.
Normally it will be like mid-Chad doing it, and I'll be like, hey, babe.
Most times it's well received, but a lot of times it's an inopportune time. But there's never been like a huge have to go backwards. Mm-hmm. There's maybe just some like little switches or fixes or whatever. So it hasn't been a huge deal.
Yeah. So again, no kitchen sink because of the time frame, but we will have one.
Our plan for the kitchen sink is going to be an off-grid system. We're staying off-grid. We're not plumbing this and doing, the work. So what we're going to do is come up with a system where we're going to catch rain right from the roof, come down to a tank, a holding tank. That holding tank is going to gravity feed in, or if we have to incorporate a solar pump, we will. I'm hoping we get enough pressure to be able to gravity feed it in.
Yeah.
Then it'll come in, Shelby will be able to wash dishes.
Cannot wait.
Just kind of a sexist comment.
But
we'll all wash dishes.
It's pretty true, though, but...
Shelby in the kitchen. Shelby in the kitchen's always good.
I like being in the kitchen,
it tastes good
so
when
it doesn't
she's in the
offend
kitchen.
me.
Well, so that's the plan. So you can wash dishes in here, and then we'll have a tank, an out tank that goes out.
Yeah.
And we'll disperse it somewhere, wherever.
We'll figure all that out. But that was the thing, is it takes thought and it takes process. Yep. And we didn't really have the time to do it. And I'm so used to figuring out how to make things work, even when they're not perfectly set up, because we've been living this life for 4 years now. So, yeah, it's a little inconvenient, but I'll manage. And then I'll appreciate the heck out of it as soon as I have it. So, we're getting there. We're not fully set up. We never will be. We'll never claim to be fully set up. And who knows if we ever really will be fully set up, but we're figuring it out as we go.
There's always room for improvement. I think one day we'll be totally content with it. And then it'll just be outdoor stuff.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Switching buildings around or building new stuff, improving the farm part of our homestead.
So to the last question that we'll answer, where do you eat? Again, it was just not wanting to shove every single little thing in here. And this was just the size and square footage that we came up with. And it was kind of like Chad said, "Kay, this is what we've got. What do you want to do with it? How do you want to make it work?" And for me, it was just so important to make it just be homey and not shoved full of stuff.
Again, we tried. We intended to build a table in here because it is very important to us that at the end of the night we come together and eat dinner as a family. We are pretty big on eating our food as a family, no matter what. Nobody ever just goes off. If we're outside, we eat together outside. So that's important to us. That's a big deal for us. So we intended to do it, and then as we got the space in here and you start to fill it with stuff, countertop, you basically close everything in from the walls. you realize, like, man, if we stuck a table here, we'd have to go sideways to walk around through. So it's doable. We've actually been talking about putting a little round table in here, but it's doable. But we've decided that we're going to build an outdoor kitchen, a whole area outside, because cooking in the tiny house in the spring and summertime is going to blow everyone out. We'll have every window open with a wood stove going. It's kind of a crazy idea.
Yeah.
So we're going to go out. We're going to build an outdoor kitchen, and we're going to make sure that we have a big dining table for us, family, and friends to sit around. So that's a main priority of the outdoor kitchen.
Yes, I love entertaining. I love having family out. I love just having big get-togethers. So it's hard to do in a tiny house. So in the fall, spring, winter times when the weather's not great, it's kind of, I have to rely on other people to invite us out. But during the summertime and those nice days, I love to be like, come out and just do a big old bonfire. And so we're going to do all of that stuff right by the bonfire. We'll have a huge table, and it will be probably one of my favorite places on the farm. So
that's one of my favorite things to
excited.
do. One of my favorite things to do is just to come together around a table and eat with people. I really like it.
And I love to cook, so it's just this fun little gathering that we do. So
stay tuned for that build.
Oh, we have so much fun things to get started on. And finally, the weather, we did a lot of cleanup yesterday, and it felt so good to be outside in the sun working. And I feel like we're just in the start of when we get to start doing all this stuff. So we're on our way. Again, I just like to say that we don't have it all figured out, but we're enjoying the process of it, and we love what we're doing. So we might sound crazy. It might not work for everybody. We get that, but this is what we're trying to figure out with doing it all cash and just trying to stay out of debt and being self-sustained. So we're figuring it out as we're going along.
So there's one more question that we got asked a ton. It was very surprising how much we were asked this question by complete strangers who felt...
Are you bringing it up?
who felt...
We decided we weren't bringing this up.
She decided we weren't going to bring it up. We were asked a very common question by many people about where Shelby and I find time together. We were floored by the amount of people who wanted to know or felt entitled to know. And our answer to that is it's none of your business. It is absolutely none of your business. There's so much stuff that we're showing you guys in our lives.
Yeah.
And there's so many more things to be concerned with.
We're happy to bring you in on things, but I just kind of assume that most people would think not to ask certain things, but apparently their mama didn't teach them not to do that.
So for all of you whose minds are in the gutter, that's okay. But for all of you whose minds are in the gutter and you asked, come on. Shame on you. Unbelievable how many people have asked. It was pretty funny.
If it was like my sister or, because she called and that was one of her questions. Did your sister?
What?
Oh yeah, she
called.
Come on,
sis.
But that's totally fine. It's my sister. Like, I'm going to tell you all the details, But if I don't know you, like, that's just kind of that's a personal thing. We figure it out. That's
you
all
move
I'm
into a
say.
tiny house and you'll figure it out for you.
Well, and you think about a tiny house. I mean, even if the kids were up in the loft, like you're all pretty much in one big room in like a regular size house. So
you don't have privacy
whoever lives in a tiny house,
what.
You don't have privacy. So if you think it's weird that we're in a bunkhouse, we're not asking you to move in, so that's okay.
There's no more room.
You
no
also
vacancy.
don't have to build one like ours. Like, it's just what's worked for us. So
I think the biggest thing.
I think he was gonna bring that up. I'm like, oh.
I'm not scared. I think one of the biggest things about a tiny house design is that people figure out how to be in them and not necessarily be in them all day. I think most people live a very active life outside, and they figured out that a tiny house is a place to come home to.
It's not there important.
And go to sleep, and like you're just not in it. It's not where you are 90% of your time. We are outside. We are in today because it's dreary outside and raining, and we did a bunch of bush clearing yesterday and all sorts of work outside all day yesterday. So that's just kind of the way it goes around here. We're always outside.
Yeah.
So.
Just a big house to sleep in the end of the day was not our number one priority with trying to do all the stuff that we're trying to do. So
So those were the common questions we got, guys. Those were asked the majority. There was, a few more, just little details and stuff like that. And you guys will see more of the entire layout as we film from this point forward, because we can actually show it. Before we were contractually obligated to not show finished product.
Yeah. So one day, not gonna lie, with being in here all winter, I definitely need to do a lot of cleaning up and tidying and organizing of things. But as soon as I get that all done, then I will give you guys a tour of our tiny house and kind of just show you a little bit more how we make it work.
Make it show ready, as they say in the business.
Yeah, seriously, got a little bit of work to do. And so I'll show you guys that.
My only critique or complaint of the entire show that I was dumbfounded by the production of it was the fact that my wife, who is a real estate agent, when they said what she did, they just said she's a tiny house builder. They never once said she's a real estate agent, which was a fact we made very clear and had told them that's how we wanted her introduced, because that's national advertisement or marketing, and they didn't do it. So if you guys are watching our videos, Shelby's a real estate agent. If you're going to buy property in North Idaho, give her a call.
Yeah, I like doing YouTube because we're very in control of the content, where that was 9 days that we spent working our butts off to make that show, and we had no idea what they were going to end up showing. So, I mean, I think it was a great episode. I'm happy with it. I loved all of our crew.
The experience was fun.
It was a lot of fun. But I'm excited to be able to show you guys a little bit more of our tiny house and continue moving forward. So, thank you guys all so much for your questions, love, and support. The love and support was amazing. That just made my heart burst. So thank you guys so much.
If you guys have any other questions that we didn't answer on this one, or you want to see in further or future videos, just put them down in the comments, and we'll either hang on to them for a little bit and address them, or we'll answer them in the comments. We're usually pretty good about getting back to everybody, unless something pops up at like 1 o'clock in the morning and we don't see it. But
yeah, we do our best.
Let us know. We like to hear your questions.
Whenever we're helping somebody else make the decision to go live a life like this, we love to do it. So any way we can help, we're happy to do it. So thank you guys. Thanks for the questions, and we'll see you guys on the next one.